Well, good morning and welcome to the DEI's Community Dialogue for Women's History Month. And today we wanted to talk about women in Henry County that have their foot solid in the nonprofit world and volunteering. And my co-host today is Carolyn Fraser. Say hello, Carolyn, to everybody.
Good morning, everyone.
And joining Carolyn and I today are Pretty Griffin with the Raise Me Up Foundation. She's the founder and executive director of Raise Me Up. And Vanessa Jackson, who is the office manager at the Chance sales team, but she's a board member of Gigi's House, and she's a volunteer with the River Refuge Malachi Project. And you'll hear more about that in a few minutes. And last but not least is Barbara Coleman. Barbara is Executive Director of Connecting Henry. So welcome, ladies, and I look forward to hearing more about what you guys do for Henry County. First, last Thursday, we had a great Women's Summit. And we just wanted to kind of recap the summit for you if you were not able to attend, and just kind of pull out some of the things that meant something to us. And we'll start with, of course, the theme was the power of resilience, which is something that we really have needed through this past year, and how to be resilient. And I think that everybody that spoke at the Women's Summit really did a great job of speaking to that topic. Carolyn, you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I took notes. I was writing furiously as everyone was speaking, and I was struck by just especially Dr. Drayton and her courage to share her story. To have been through what she has been through throughout her life from birth, because she started her story at birth. And I was just amazed, and so I was just very proud that she was able to, she embodies resilience and having the courage to share the details of a story that many people don't, a lot of people do, but many people don't know anything about. And it was amazing. The entire thing was amazing.
It absolutely was. I'm not a crier. I had tears come to my eyes when I was listening to Dr. Drayton speak, because I know girls in these same situations, and that perseverance of just rising above your situation. She is such a good role model and example for the girls that are stuck in situations like this. And, I think everything that we're talking about touches this topic and the power of resilience today. With our nonprofit world. So Vanessa Harrison with AT&T, the president of AT&T Georgia, rising from being a telephone operator into being the president of AT&T Georgia. What a great story. And she really did give great advice as she went along. One of the biggest ones to me was you do not have to dim someone else's light to let yours shine. And so you don't have to compromise to be recognized. And she very much talked about bringing others along with you as you rise, the importance of diversity and having different people with different thoughts and in the same room just makes things better. And I absolutely believe that the more diverse your crowd is around you, the more you experience and learn and understand from other people. You're not seeing things in a very one-sided way if you surround yourself with people who are different than you. So that really was a great testament there, but just so impressive of rising and the resilience there too.
I didn't mean
I
to.
think all three women were very, very inspirational, and to share their fight and all the challenges that they had, but they overcame every single one of them. Yes, Dr. Drayton by far was an amazing story. And like you, Ms. Fraser, I had so many notes, and they said so many things that were just absolutely inspirational that I think I want to put it on a poster and put it all over all over my house and my office, and to encourage even my children, and how we continue to fight regardless of whatever obstacles that life may throw at us. And they were just absolutely amazing speakers.
Right.
Ms. Harrison made a statement. Well, she made several statements, but I jotted some of the things that I jotted down. She said, talent is distributed equally, but opportunity is not. And she talked about blooming wherever you're planted and making the best, whether you are, because she talks about taking the job as a telephone operator and how it was not what she wanted to do, but it fit the bill for what she needed at the time. And so she made the best. She said, I'm going to be the best darn telephone operator that there is, and just make the best wherever we are planted for such a time as this, I guess.
Yes.
To make the best of it and do the best that you can. Where you are, as you strive to improve and elevate and make sure that you, like you said, Christy, to bring others along with you. When it was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I especially liked hers for a couple of reasons. One, the quotes that she used. We can all take something away from that. But my own mother worked for the phone company. She started her journey the same as a telephone operator in New York, and kind of worked her way through the ranks. And she saw all the transitions from Ma Bell and ended up her career working in that one job for 28 years. Not that one job, but that one company. She, of course, went through the ranks. So I definitely resonated with her. And the one thing that I especially liked was that she was an example. Too often today, women tear each other down, and we don't need to tear each other down. Too often women do not support one another when we are in whatever the role is. There is enough to go around. So I love the idea that she was constantly planting and sowing into other people. And I just think that we can all take that as a good example of the ways that we should live.
Absolutely. And coming down to talking about Dr. Welter, she really kind of said the same thing in just a little bit different way. Having the experience of being a female football player, becoming the first female football coach in the NFL, those were things. And, one of the things she talked about was having a goal and being able to work backwards from it. But when you're the first in an arena like that, it's hard to work backwards from that goal. So you just start where you are, which is pretty much what I heard from Ms. Harrison, that you start where you are and then you move forward and you break boundaries and you go. And so, we really heard a lot of reinforcement there of resilience. And it really just was a great morning. It wasn't long enough. The summit wasn't long enough. We could have had more and more. It was kind of sad when it was over with, but it just was amazing to have that theme. And also too, we had the scholarship winners for the Education Foundation, our two scholarship winners, Jordan Tucker from Strong Rock Christian School and Ashley Biggs of Ola High School. And those two young ladies have got a great future ahead of them. And it was just really great to hear what their future plans are and what they have been doing already very strong young women, and that was very great to see. Has anybody got anything else about the Women's Summit?
Looking forward to next year.
Me too. Me
Hopefully
too.
in person.
Yes, yes.
Yes, absolutely. It's great seeing everyone's
Yes.
beautiful faces and the hugs and the smiles. It's a great time.
Yes. One of the things that Vanessa Harrison said, one of her points, was the lift as you climb, and helping others to grow. We widen the doors to help other women through those doors. And when Carolyn and I were discussing what we were going to talk about today, we kind of wanted to talk about Henry County's unseen heroes or unheard heroes, unsung. But after we had the presentation, The Lift as You Climb, that really fit the three people that we're talking to today. Vanessa, Pretty, and Barbara, they lift as they climb. It was really, when she said that, I'm like, yes, that is exactly what these women do in Henry County. So I'd like to move on and welcome Pretty again. And like I said, Pretty is the founder and the executive director of the Raise Me Up Foundation. And Pretty, just tell us a little bit about your nonprofit, how you came to be, and just anything else you want to tell us about it.
What an honor. I think I told you that when you called. It's amazing to be working with all the amazing people in Henry County and growing over the many years. But my journey actually started 28 years ago. And since then, it was a lot of learning, a lot of awareness, and then sharing with everybody that I know and come across everything that I learned. But it started with a really good college friend of mine. We just went to see a movie, and that's all it was. And it completely changed who I am and the direction that my life took. I lived a childhood of nothing but joy and encouragement and happiness and just a lovely childhood. And I never really knew there was neglect. I never knew that there was abuse until that day. And we saw this movie, and there was a scene in which a child was about to be really bad physically abused. And my friend ran out of the theater, shaking and just crying. And I ran after him and I said, "Hey, what's up?" And after I learned everything that he has gone through in his life, it was a shocker, but it was also the beginning of what I call my calling. Because I wanted to make sure that there's not another child that ever went through what he did in his lifetime. And so fast forward, after getting married and having children, a good friend of mine invited me to be on the board of Prevent Child Abuse Henry County. And I guess that kind of began the journey that I have been in Henry County, learning more about abuse, learning about neglect and what children go through and how it affects them for the rest of their life. And after serving on that board for 8 years, after much prayer, I decided to start my own nonprofit because I wanted to just continue growing and bringing awareness to our community. Because what I found out is children, when they go through, and I think Dr. Drayton was a great example, when children go through what they call adverse childhood experiences, the more ACEs they have, whether it's physical abuse, whether it's living in a life of violence, whether it's in your home or in your community, the children go through so much trauma that it brings on toxic stress. And that stress relates to all the diseases and health issues we have, whether it's diabetes, whether it's cancer, whether it's just a lot of different. And then you have mental health, whether it's suicide, depression. And then it has an effect in your education world because children, when they're carrying all that trauma, they can't succeed. They can't be academically successful. You can't worry about the violence that you just had in your home and then come home and be ready to make straight A's. That just doesn't happen. And I think Barbara will tell you a little bit about how they help children that have gone through those kind of trauma through the SWAG program and a lot of different things. And then it in turn has a very negative impact on the economy and the prosperity of the community. Because what you find out when you learn about these ACE is the more ACEs a child has, they're more likely to have drug and alcohol abuse, more crime and incarceration. It evolves until, and the only thing that stops it is if we were to come together as a community, recognize these children, and give them the hope and the encouragement they need to become resilient. And when Dr. Drayton was talking about her story, what stuck out to me is she continued to talk about her grandparents, how they supported her, and how her dad always supported her. And that was the key factor that helped her get through all the trauma and then get to the point where she's this brilliant, beautiful doctor at Piedmont Healthcare. And so I guess Raise Me Up is just that. I want to bring the community together to raise up the children that are going through these traumatic experiences in their life so they can be beautiful, wonderful, amazing leaders like Dr. Drayton in our community. And so our community can prosper and be the best that it can be in Georgia. We have a lot of different programs that do just that. We have about 5 different programs, everything from foster bags, a blessing, which lifts up the foster children in our community. We have a prevention education program, everything from darkness to light, a new one coming called Connections Matter. And most of these programs, we partner with the Georgia Center for Child Advocacy, Prevent Child Abuse Georgia. So it's a statewide initiative that we become partners in, and then bring it to Henry County. So we are the leaders in Georgia. And it has been a wonderful, I can't believe it's already 5 years, but it's been a wonderful 5-year journey. And I can't wait to see what we can do in the future in partnership with everyone.
Awesome. Pretty, you mentioned the ACEs, and I sat through an informational session on the ACEs that you had sent me the beginning of last year. And just talk a little bit about that, and maybe point to the website that people can see the information about ACEs and take the test. That it's got the questions and answers for children to kind of see what their score is.
So ACE started back in the 90s when Kaiser Permanente and CDC wanted to do research on why are some individuals or why adults are more, the 2 studies that they did was specifically with obesity and drugs and alcohol, basically. And smoking, I think, is specifically what they were looking at. And what they found out by researching and following 17,000 people is the higher an individual has their ACE score, the more likely they had all these adverse adult health, mental health. And so they have 10 questions, and that's basically on abuse, whether it's physical, emotional, or sexual abuse. You have neglect, both psychological and general well-being being provided by your parents. And then you have all the societal things. The pandemic is one of them. During this pandemic, children are going through a lot of trauma. And I have been working with our social workers over the last year, and even Ms. Coleman from Connecting Henry. We have been blessed to be granted with the Nonprofit Assistance Grant, where we are providing assistance with rent and utilities, summer food. Those are some of the things that children go through, but that will leave a lifetime of trauma if they don't receive the resource to help them. When they did the research back in the 90s, they had a young lady that had just up and down yo-yo issues with weight. And the doctor helped her lose weight. She was happy. She started dating. And then the next time she saw, the doctor saw this individual, she had gained all her weight back. And I'm giving you guys a very brief summary of it. But what they found out is she had a history of child sexual abuse. And so when she started dating, all those memories came back, and she started having to deal with the trauma that she went through. And so what they found out through these 10 questions, and I will post it on our website, which is raisemeupfoundation.org. And you can go under the page that says Connections Matter, and we will have that test on there. And basically, when you have a specific trauma, then you check yes, and that gives you 1 point. And what they found is adults that have more than 4 ACE are more likely to have all of these consequences that you see. And more than 6 makes you even more susceptible. Now, it's not a determination that you will, it's just that most are more likely to. And the key factor to prevent ACE is building resiliency through community coming together to help them, kind of like the grandmother or even the father. When the child has one person or someone that reaches out and gets them through all the trauma they're going through, they're more likely to be resilient and be able to be successful with whatever their goals are. And maybe the child doesn't drop out of school. Maybe they don't have issues at work because they have that one friend who's willing to help them through the trauma that they are still living with. Because that never goes away. That stays with you for a lifetime.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's move on to Vanessa Jackson. And Vanessa is the office manager at the Chance Sales team and board member of Gigi's House and the Malachi Project. So I'm just going to let Vanessa speak from her heart about those volunteer opportunities that she has there with her.
Miss Carolyn and Christy, thank you for this opportunity, and also to be here with Pretty and Miss Barbara is an honor. I'd like to just briefly start off. The Bible says your joy comes from tribulation, right? And I always wondered why my heart was always geared toward the least, less, and lost, and in counseling and so forth. And your ages 1 to 10 are your most impressionable years. Although my later years was really good, but that 1 through 10 was very traumatic. And working through that, and I'm like, God, I just cried out and I told him to use me. I wanted him to use me. Because our pastor says all the time, and y'all hear it, that your story will be someone's testimony and you can help someone. So I had the opportunity, served on the board with another ministry for 5 years. And when that closed down, I had the opportunity to meet Joanne Sutherland and Sabrina Crawford and with Gigi's House, and been serving there for 3 years. And it hurts my heart that a lot of people just are blinded to this and they close their eyes to it. And during my lunch with Christy last Thursday, and Pretty knows this as well, it's real, guys. It's real. I mean, the stories and stuff. So I guess my prayer is that just people talk more about it. I got a Save Our Children, Stop Sex Trafficking shirt that I wear around the square. I get so many people like, what's your name? You're talking about it.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Would you tell, for those people that are watching and are not familiar, would you please tell us what exactly Gigi's House is and who they serve?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Gigi's House is a faith-based, safe home where we serve girls ages 13 to 19. We've been open 2.5 years. And nothing saddens the owner, Sabrina, more than getting calls that we have no room. So we're going to be having groundbreaking next month for our second 10-bed home. That's one of my roles as a board member, is I'm not afraid to ask for money, I guess. So raising funds to build our second home. And it's just, and it's the girls they have education is there at the home. We have a certified teacher, because a lot of these girls have not been to school since 4th grade. So you're going to take someone that's 15 with a 4th grade education. You can't do that. I mean, that's failure right from the get-go. So we definitely need tutors. If anyone out there is interested, I could get you hooked up with our executive director, Carla, because we do need tutors because these girls are on different levels. And and I'm here to say, I mean, I know several that was rescued from Henry County. And I'm just, so it's real, guys. And we just need to talk more about it, have Pretty speaking more about darkness to light. Just, you know, just because you have blinders on doesn't mean it's not happening. And it could be your granddaughter or your grandson. So with that being said, I started off being like a mentor, you know, going out there every weekend, taking them out to eat, calling people in the county that would, you know, would sponsor these girls. Why should these girls not have a day at the spa? I want someone to tell me why one of these girls cannot have their nails and toes done. All of our kids do, and they're not there because they want to be. So, you know, just a lot of things that I just wish people would, you know, when I call and say, you know, would you mind sponsoring 10 girls that have a nail day? I mean, I do a lot, but that's my heart. But I would like to see more people do that. So that's Gigi's house. Malachi Project, both of these ministries just get to my heart. And with you being a pastor, Miss Barbara, Malachi 4, 5, and 6 is what the Malachi Project is based on. I will send my prophet Elijah to you that great and dreadful day of the Lord. He will turn the hearts of the parents to their children and the hearts of the children to their parents, or else I will strike the land with total destruction. God is so good. God is so good. We've had Malachi now for 3 years. And it's the children that go to Tussa Hall Elementary School. We pick them up at their home, and we have our school at Bethany Baptist where I attend, and Bethany Baptist is a partner with us. And I'm sure, Barbara, I mean, everyone's probably drove or knows where Rufus Stewart Park is in Church Circle behind Shiloh. So you can imagine what these little kids see on a day-to-day basis. But let me tell you, the seeds that we are sowing, we're reaping, girls. We have a little boy, his name is Antonio. He's been with us for 3 years. He missed a Tuesday, right? And I'm his volunteer, so I was really upset. And so he came back Thursday, and Pastor Terrell said, Vanessa, I think Antonio has something to tell you. He said, Vanessa, I would rather be here at Malachi, learning about Jesus and reading to you. That's a second grader. His whole family, we had 26 families and kids get baptized in that neighborhood last November at Bethany. Families are coming to church because, I mean, it's drugs, it's prison, that's all these kids know, you know. So just seeing these little lives change, and it's going to change the whole trajectory of, it's not going to be a housing project. We're claiming that today because these kids are going to change all of that, ladies. And then just another real quick one. So we know our young girls, because some of the young girls get ridiculed at school because they're called project babies. And I'm going to tell y'all, they're princesses. They are loved. They're God's daughter. How dare them? So we started a Princess Warriors and Young Warriors on Monday nights. So, and that's been going on for, I guess, a couple of months. So it gives these young girls a safe place where they can just pour out their heart, and then we can find answers for them that are in the Bible. And I just want to leave with this one story. Damon, he's doing track, and y'all see we posted him on Facebook. He's one of our young warriors, And they'll ride through Church Circle. There's a basketball court behind Richard Craig Park. You know, everybody's out there shooting baskets, but those 5 young men, could they not keep staying there playing basketball? But what do? They get on that church bus that says Passion Life Church, and they come and they want to be fed. And we are to impact, empower, and equip the next generation. And that's what Malachi Project wants to do, starting with those little ones. And it's catching fire. It's catching fire. I feel like I was preaching.
That's great. Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you.
You know, both of these groups that Vanessa works with, Gigi's House, helping house our young ladies who have been put into sex trafficking, and you know, there's lots of issues. It does tie back into Pretty. She does darkness to light training, and if you have not had your organization go through darkness to light training, it takes very little time to go through it. It opens your eyes to those around you, and lets you see things in a little bit different way, and just gives you a whole new perspective. And so that's definitely one thing that I would recommend. But with Malachi Project, you know, you're helping. I did see a video of parents that were talking about their child that came to the center, and how their life has changed because their child got on that bus. And you know, so Henry Countyans helping Henry Countyans. It's what we need to be doing, and it all fits in with our resilience, and it also ties in with Lincoln's theme for the Chamber of Commerce this year of unity. This is part of unity. So I'd like to move on to Barbara Coleman with Connecting Henry. She's the executive director of Connecting Henry, and she's going to tell us about her story, how she got to where she was, and what Connecting Henry does.
Thank you. And thank you to all the ladies. Thank you for this great opportunity. And I feel so honored to be here today in the presence of people that are doing great work in the community. And that's one of the things that I strive for. When I started with Connecting Henry, it was back in, I believe, 2012 or 2013. During the time that the economy was bad, jobs were scarce, and I decided I'm going back to school and get my master's. My second master's, which I did, and I wanted to do some volunteer work in the community. And I called all the nonprofits in Henry County at that time to try to do some volunteer work. And Susan Crumbly from Connecting Henry called me back. And from that moment on, she was like my shero. To this day, I call her my shero. And so I started working with the community. It was my idea. When I had finished with my schooling, you know, I could not find a job. I looked everywhere and simply could not find a job. So I decided I can't find a job. I will create a job, and then I will help others to get a job. And so that's what I did for a few years, and how I actually connected with Connecting Henry. We did an employment training, and at that time it was called Strive, and it went on to be known as Inspire, which is Connecting Henry's signature program. I actually did that with them. And we helped individuals not only to get a job, but to keep a job. You know, we know now that the economy is bad. Back then, the economy was bad, but folks may not get a job because of the bad economy. It could be simply because you have a bad attitude. And those were the things that we talked about. It could be that you use too much profanity on the job or dress provocatively. You know, we learned that when you're looking for employment, you need to leave sexy at home. The workplace is not the place for that. So those are the things that I talked about with Connecting Henry in the employment training. And by the way, we have a class that's actually going on right now. We're wanting to kickstart the economy. COVID has brought about so much hardship for a lot of families. We're getting the phone calls. We have 2 case managers, full-time case managers. We're receiving 40 to 50 calls a day from organizations or from individuals and families that are just struggling. This is our 25th year of operation. And, I've been doing this for quite some time now, but it breaks my heart to know that the struggles that families are facing. And it breaks my heart even more to know that sometimes we simply cannot help them. The highest that I've seen someone owing right now in the pandemic is $27,000 in back rent. And that's a lot of money. But can you imagine the impacts that owing is happening to the families? Can you imagine the stress that this family is under? Can you imagine the lack that is going on in that household from that family that simply cannot go to work and take care of their families? And that's what we're here for. Pretty mentioned earlier the SWAG program. That I call that my baby. When I came on board with Connecting Henry, I did the employment training with them for a while as a contract worker. And then I was actually hired on by the organization to run the program. And SWAG stands for Students Working to Achieve Greatness. It is our GED program, and it works with 16 to 24-year-olds that have dropped out of school for whatever the reason. We came up with the name SWAG because, SWAG was the in thing at the time. Everybody wanted to have SWAG, and it stands for Students Working to Achieve Greatness. If you consider a student that has dropped out, pregnant, parenting, homeless, a runaway in the foster care system, they may have a disability, they may be an offender, or their parent may be an offender. All of those things could potentially stem from what Pretty talked about, the ACEs, and it's put the student in this predicament. Well, society as a whole looks at these students and say, they're at risk. They are at risk. They're potentially at risk to have more children. They're at risk to commit more crimes. But at Connecting Henry, we say, yes, they are at risk, but they are at risk for greatness because of organizations like ours, because of people who pour into them. We have several successful students that have gone through our program because we touched these students in a positive way. We have influence in a positive way for them. We have 2 students that are Henry County police officers that actually came through our program. We have students that have gone on to be nurses, business, all kinds of businesses they're in the medical field. And it's because we care. We're small, but we do so much within the community. Our Inspire employment training program, we have the homeless and homelessness prevention program. With our students, we have the ability to place them at wherever in the community, at XYZ company. They can work there for about 6 weeks. We cover their wages and we cover their workman's compensation. It's a win-win for everyone. The employer is getting a free student. They can train that student, mold that student. And then of course the student is getting money put in their pocket. And this is what we do at Connecting Henry. We want to make a positive imprint. If you look around any county, anywhere in America, you can find all kinds of things to be negative about. But our former director, Susan Crumbley, her motto is, we don't do mediocre. I feel the same way. We don't do mediocre. God has called all of us to be our very best. And everything that I do, I try to do it in excellence because I know that I'm not only representing Connecting Henry, but I am representing the kingdom. And I don't want to go down that line, but that's how I live my life. I represent the kingdom, and everything that I do, I try to do it in excellence. Had a great opportunity these last several months to partner with Pretty and just trying to help families to stay in their homes. And if people really understood what families are going through right now, I think everyone will have a different story because it could be any one of us. All it takes is an accident, the death of a spouse, a divorce, a child falling off the wagon or anything. It can be any one of us that can be in any bad situation. So we must embrace people, help people where we can. But I'm also a firm believer in not coddling and not enabling. At a certain point, we have to cut it off, and we have to help people to be able to help themselves. Otherwise, we stay in that vicious cycle. We have to be able to do it. That's what we do at Connecting Henry. I can talk about this organization forever. I was trained by the best, and I love what I do. We have a great staff that works here, and we are here for the safety, the protection of families and children. We host a monthly collaborative meeting where we bring together the nonprofits, other nonprofits, the faith-based businesses, government, the school system, and we work together. And one of the biggest things that we're looking to do right now, there are lots of families that are living in hotels. I talked with a single mom. She was actually a widow. She received disability because she could not work, and she received Social Security because her husband had passed for her children. But she was paying over $500 a week to stay in a hotel with her 5 boys. $500 a week is over $2,000 a month she was paying to stay in a hotel. We're looking for homes that we can get this family and families like hers out of the hotel, give them the job training skills to help families to get back on their feet, talk about credit, talk about anger management, help them to get into a better position. They will stay in this transitional home, whether it's a single family home in any neighborhood. We would give them those skills that they need. They will pay rent, because I firmly believe they must have some skin in the game. Pay rent for a period of time, and then we will transition them out into permanent housing. We are 100% grants and donations. Everything that we do is based on grants and donations. So we have a grant, the ESG grant, that we have the ability to place such a family in a home. We can cover their first month's rent and their security deposit, as well as a deposit on the lights, the water, the gas. What better way to get families out of the hotels, get them some skills, some wraparound services to help the families, get them back on their feet, and then they in turn reach back and help another family. And that's what we're doing here at Connecting Henry. And I'm so glad to be a part of it. And thank you again for just the opportunity to share what we're doing in the community.
Thank you, Barbara. We're going to move into kind of a question and answer session. So if you have any questions, if you've joined us on Zoom, if you've got any questions, if you can type those into the all panelists box. And I don't have Facebook up, so if anybody's got questions on Facebook, let me get that up as well so we can see those questions. But I'll start with a question, and you guys can all answer that. Is if you had one big ask from the Henry County community, what would you ask? So just one big ask. What are you asking for?
I don't know if any of us three can name just one thing, because no, we're all going to sit here and go, oh, what is going to be the most important one? I would say that the only way that we can help is if we educate and make ourselves aware of what's going on. And so whether, you know, when Vanessa is talking about Gigi's house, CSAC, which is commercial exploitation of children, whether it's about CSAC, educating yourself on how prevalent it is, yes. Whether it's Atlanta market, whether it's, you know, why do traffickers do what they do? Why, you know, who is buying the children? Learn about what is CSAC and what makes children at risk. Learn about internet safety. That's another class that I do. Children are very susceptible to fall in the hands of predators. So learn, I just did a training at Strong Rock Academy on internet safety, and I've also partnered with the school system. So learn about that. Learn about child sexual abuse that happens in homes, or, you know, how 1 in 10 children are sexually abused. And that's, even though that sounds horrible, that's probably not even all of them, because only 12% of children actually tell their abuse. So learn about that. Learn about ACE. Learn about how all of these things that the children go through, how that affects them into their adult life or even in school. So so we have all of our trainings online and in person and in line. Take the training. Yes, it might take 2 or 3 hours. It might take $10. But what an investment that you're making into the lives of children in our community. So educate yourself would be the biggest thing that I would love for people to do.
If I had to pick one thing, which I agree with Pretty, is a little bit difficult to say, and I'll look at it from a different perspective, I would say 2 things. be kind to one another. Just simply treat people with dignity and with respect. We have no idea what folks are going through. Last week, I had an opportunity to speak with a gentleman that we're working with, because on April 21st, Connecting Henry is also hosting a job fair, again, in the attempts to kickstart the community. So we will be having a job fair and this is a live in-person job fair at the Toys R Us store, the former store next to the Hobby Lobby. And so I was talking to one of the gentlemen that's going to be one of the vendors at the job fair. And he said, you know, one of my workers just committed suicide. And it hit me, you know, that it happens. We don't know what people are going through. And sometimes we get so caught up in our own lives and what we've got going on that we forget our fellow man. But all of us living in Henry County, working in Henry County, you know, everyone is our neighbor. Everyone is a family member to someone else. And somewhere along the way, we've lost the ability to just be kind to one another and treat people with dignity and respect and just show love. And if I had any ask, that would be my ask for Henry County.
And I would just like to piggyback on what these two women said. Just the respect, unity, and just, again, just treat people, because like you said, you don't know where they're coming from, you know, and they were, I mean, we know people that had jobs and had homes and for whatever reason, and that they're, you know, they're living in the square or something, and I hear people, breaks my heart, I hear people talking about them. How do you work with homeless people? Why do you do this? Why do you do that? Our maker told us to do that. You know, so I would love to see more unity and no division. We're all the same. No one's better or less than. So thank you.
Christy, I feel like we've just been through a second Women's Empowerment Summit.
Absolutely.
I am so completely inspired by these women, almost speechless. There's a question that popped up in our question box, and the question is for all. What types of partnerships are your organizations looking for in the community, and how can we help collaborate with you?
For instance, for Malachi Project, we're looking for volunteers. We're looking for people to provide meals. And can I just do a shout out for Tammy Pear at Shane's, Ron Costello at Real Castile, and Neil Daniel at Kirby G's. Anytime, I mean, they've been feeding our kids for 3 years. So I just want to say thank you. So, you know, partners with people to feed our kids on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Mondays. Is free. There's no cost to the parents. But you can sponsor a child for only $50 a month, and that helps pay for, you know, gas in our van and supplies and stuff that we buy for the kids. Gigi's House, the same. Definitely looking for tutors that, you know, maybe some retired teachers out there. We could definitely use retired tutors, volunteers. So, you know, when they go on outings, they like to have 2 or 3 volunteers. I've been doing that for 3 years. And again, I gotta say prayer, just prayer on both of these ministries. And I know that God will bring the right people, the right partners, and that's my answer.
I'm a proponent for asking. I always say, if you don't ask, the answers are always no. So thank you for asking. What do we need? Honestly, we are 100% grants and donations, as I said. A lot of nonprofits live and die based on funding. So besides the funding, what else do we need? With our SWAG program, we are looking to expand that program. I'm actually looking for employers I'm looking for employers that can actually participate in the job fair. Simply go on our website, download the application, and submit the application back to us. I'm looking for people in the community that are looking for jobs. We want to be able to help with our employment training that's going on now. The jobs are there. I was told by my board chair that he has a friend that works in Alabama. And of course, this is in Alabama, but the same is true across the country. There are so many jobs and not enough people to fill the jobs. And we know that there are a lot of jobs in Henry County. So we're looking for workers that we can help to train for workforce development to fill these positions to boost our economy. We're looking for students in our SWAG program. If you're 16 to 24, you've dropped out of school for whatever the reason, and you would like to earn your GED. We had a graduate just last week. We're asking that you contact Connecting Henry. If you're also looking to further your career, you may have already graduated high school, you're considered to be low income, but you don't necessarily want to go to college. We have an underground utility training program. With this program, just think of an apartment building or any kind of building, a house, and all the utilities that go underneath the ground, the gas, the water, the electric. We have a partnership with Georgia Utilities Contractors Association to where we're training these young people to learn how to do this type of work. And they're not only getting a job, but they're getting a career. If you think about a job is just over broke. A career is a little bit more than that. And we're training these young people to go into the workplace and get a job, get a career. And we've had it posted for several weeks now. We've only had 2 people to apply in all of Henry County. I know there's more people out there looking for work. So those are the things that we're definitely looking for, ways that we can just boost the economy. This is our 25th year. We are going to be doing a fundraiser coming up here soon. Again, I believe in asking. We need things that we can raffle off to raise money for the organization, because this money not only helps with our programs, but it helps to pay the salary for myself and everyone here at Connecting Henry. We're all based on grant funding. So if you have this big item that you would like to donate to Connecting Henry, I'll gladly accept it. If you have a house, if you have an apartment, if you have a place that you've not lived in for years and it's kind of sitting and going by the wayside, we will take that building. And the good thing with our students in our underground utility training, we also have a maintenance certification program. We can actually put our students to work and rehab these places. They can hang ceiling fans and change out light switches and plugs. And that's what we teach them here at Connecting Henry. So that's my ask.
You know, it's funny that you said funding, because that seems to be, you ask any nonprofit in Henry County, and there are just so many wonderful, wonderful nonprofits with great causes. Funding is our biggest thing, is, you know, how do we pay for our programs? In my particular nonprofit, we don't have employees. It's a volunteer-based nonprofit. So that really helps us out, because then I really don't have to do a lot of fundraisers, because all of our all the grants and donations we get goes directly back to the children and the families that need the resources. So yes, donations and any kind of assistance and finance is always appreciated, so we can run the program. Our education program are, you know, all of these trainings we have to pay the Georgia Center for Child Advocacy. So although we don't take any money in, we do have to pay. And so we're looking for organizations that are not only willing to educate their staff, but also help us provide these trainings. One of the biggest collaboration that I would love for the chamber and all the members to join, it's a new program that we are going to be working with all the big agencies. It's called Handle with Care, and that is going to support all the children in the school system. So what we need to do in order to launch that program is train everyone from law enforcement, PD, the school resource officers, all the social workers and counselors and everyone. And it's going to take a lot of funds for us to be able to bring the facilitators from the state level to be able to train everyone. And so, yes, funding would be wonderful. But I would love to have an opportunity every single day, fill up my calendar. I'd love to bring my training to fight for these children, bringing awareness and education to every different organization. Chamber can have me come and talk at every single business booster luncheon from here on. That's a great collaboration, right? No, I'm kidding.
Yes.
No, just educating the public about how much it affects our children and in turn, our whole county. There's not one parent, there's not one person in our county that is not affected by adverse experiences that children go through. It affects every single one of us.
You know, I think it's very important that our child well-being. If our children are well and happy, it means that our community is thriving. So all the focus that we have of helping the children also help the parents. And so, you know, it's great. And I want to thank you guys for being with us today and just sharing your heart and sharing what we can do for you as a community. And I hope that if you've been touched by any of this today, from our Women's History Month to focus on our nonprofits, please reach out to these ladies and their organizations and just volunteer the services that you can provide. You know, if it's monetary, if it's time, it will be greatly appreciated. And
Thank you for having us. It's been
Thank you.
great.
Thank you.
And I'm going to repeat the organizations for the record for those that are watching. So Pretty Griffin is the executive director of the Raise Me Up Foundation, and you all correct me if I have anything wrong. And Vanessa Jackson works with Gigi's House and also with the Malachi Project. And Miss Barbara Coleman is the executive director of Connecting Henry. So those are the three organizations. I want to, Barbara, you said something earlier about being at risk, and you said at risk for greatness. And Miss Vanessa Harrison at the summit the other day said at risk, made the statement about being at risk to do great things. And so I just thought it was great that you just said that, and she said that as well. And I want to charge you, you know, all of us here talking, we're all women. And Dr. Jen, when she was finishing up her talking, she talked about making sure that we, in everything that we do, and all of you ladies are doing such fantastic things, and your heart and your soul and your body goes into your organizations and your work. And that's awesome. And you are to be honored for that. And we appreciate it. But Dr. Jen said to make sure that you take care of yourself and to take time out for yourself. She said, be as good to yourself as you are to everyone else. And she said, we always, as women, tend to be the soft place for everyone else to land, everyone else in our lives, whether it's our families, whether it's the communities that we serve, you know, we tend to be that soft place for everyone else to serve. And she made a point of saying that we need to take time to take care of ourselves. And so I want to just remind you, amazing women, to take time for yourselves and be good to yourselves as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us today. And we don't see any more questions, so we will close our session, and we will, let's see, I've got a hand raised. If you've got a question, either put it in the question and answer or in the chat.
Someone did ask, what is the website to register for the job fair?
Yeah.
And that is connectinghenry.org. Connectinghenry.org.
And what's the date of that job fair?
April the 21st. It will be from 10 until 1, and it is an in-person job fair. And we've been able to utilize that space at the old Toys R Us store. Plenty of room to spread out, plenty of room to social distance. And we had initially stated that we would provide a table, but we're asking anyone that's interested, any of the employers, to please bring their own table and chairs to the event and register.
All right. Well, I don't see anything else. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Carolyn, for co-hosting with me. And we'll be praying for your organizations, and hopefully you'll be hearing from more people in the Henry County area to help raise our children up. So thank you. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Thank you,
Thank you
ladies.
for
You
having
guys
us.
too.
Ladies.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.